let's see here. So here we go. We are here for, I'm going to share my screen, ladies. We're here for this workshop, and I do not have a PowerPoint for you because look, I have been teaching this workshop for so many years. This is an article that I wrote in my newsletter in 2013. And this is what we're going to talk about today is what I've been talking about for many, many years with my clients, getting publicity. So for those of you who don't know me, I'm Beth Caldwell. A lot of you here know me as the founder and executive director of Pittsburgh Professional Women. But I'm an entrepreneur, small business owner. I'm a business coach, author and a speaker, wear many hats like most of you do. But I started my entrepreneurial business with a public relations firm in 2004 here in my hometown of Pittsburgh, in an office in Greentree. And this is what I did. Elizabeth Cessna, who's on here today, she was one of my first clients. And I was a unique public relations boutique firm. I work with small business owners and entrepreneurs, and most of them do not have $70,000 a year to pay an agency. And so I really specialize in bootstrap, publicity, visibility, positioning yourself as an expert, and weaving marketing in with publicity so that I was seeing people throw tens of thousands of dollars on press releases and not get any media coverage and then wind up being bankrupt. And so I started teaching people what I did in my own business, because even if you don't get publicity, you do get client attraction out of it. So I'm a very, since I own my own public relations firm, I got very good at client attraction. So today I'm going to give you 10 ways to attract media attention during the holiday season. It's a different and unique season. It's an interesting time to get publicity, and I'll tell you why in a moment. But first, I want to explain to you the difference between marketing and publicity. So if we owned a large company, like a Barnes and Noble or an Amazon, right? We would have a marketing department. And in that marketing department, the employees that we would have would be marketers, advertisers, and publicists, right? That all goes under the marketing umbrella. So marketing is everything that you do to tell people about your business. That's, what you all just did here, introducing yourself. For my friend Pam, it's the sign that she has on her door, right? The people drive past, or the sign that you have on the window. Marketing your website, your business card, when you speak for free in the community. Those are all marketing. Marketing is what you tell people about your business. Advertising is when you pay somebody to talk about your business or to feature your business in an ad. And publicity is when the media talks about you or your business, and it doesn't cost anything, okay? And so they're all different. They're all designed to grow your business and increase your visibility. But we want to pay attention and be sure that we're not pitching an ad or doing marketing when we're trying to get publicity. So it's important that you understand the difference between these things. Now, why is it a good time? So it's always a good time to get publicity. Why is it a unique time during the holidays? Well, here's what happens. Most years, the producers and executive producers and editors and publishers tend to take off time between Thanksgiving and New Year, particularly during an election season when they have been working so hard. And big news has happened. This year, we've had a lot of things happening. So, but just during a regular normal year, things really slow down news-wise. A lot of the business sector news slows down. A lot of trading news slows down. Real estate seems to slow down. I know it's not this year, but things really settle down and get quiet. And this is the time that the top producers and the VIPs usually take their vacations. And they put the junior producers in. And sometimes even you have interns working during the Christmas season. But there's usually not a lot of news. There's not a lot happening in government typically. So this is a really good time to have stories that are more public interest and more positive and not what we typically see in the media. This is a great time to pitch it. But the ideas that I'm going to give you today will work any time of the year. Okay. So first of all, I have some good news for you. This is, as I said to you, this is the original, look how old this is. This is the original sheet that I taught this workshop on. I used to teach this workshop in person and you would get a little booklet, but I've created you a brand new booklet and you're going to get this ebook in your email right after today, along with your recording. So go ahead and have something to take notes with and to share your ideas with. If you have any questions, put them in the chat. And my assistant Liz is on here monitoring. So you can either send them to Elizabeth McAdoo in the chat or just post them in the chat for everybody to see. And she'll text those to me. I can't see your messages when I'm sharing my screen, but go ahead and put your messages in there. And we probably are going to go to a little past 2 for those of you who can stay. I'll stick around after and answer any of your questions and definitely help you brainstorm, because the whole idea about today is to give you some ideas, inspiration, and some creativity. Okay. So you are going to get this book in your email after today, and it's brand new. I just finished it this morning, right? So I'm going to give you 10. Let's see if I can make this. Give me a second here. Let me see if I can just make this one single page. There we go. So this isn't like a PowerPoint. This is an actual ebook that I created. So it's the first time I'm sharing it. Yay. So let's see. One. I'm going to give you 10 ideas. So here's an idea, especially now, hosting a gratitude day. So I'm giving you ideas to write press releases, ideas to attract media. This is a really simple one. What can you do to show gratitude either for your customers? You know, a lot of people, and it's totally appropriate to show gratitude towards your employees, but showing gratitude towards your employees is really not a publicity thing. It's just a nice thing to do with the holidays, and we should all do that anyway, right? But having a gratitude day, hosting a gratitude day, what are you grateful for in the community? And you could have some kind of an initiative where you can have, obviously during this time, it would be virtual, your customers or the community members share what they're grateful for, either about your service or just about the world in general, on your website or social media page. Hosting a gratitude day or a gratitude movement, a gratitude initiative. There are so many places that you can go with gratitude. You don't have to be a therapist or a gratitude expert to do that. It's just an interesting, an easy way to get started with brainstorming. And that's what we're doing today. I'm giving you some ideas for brainstorming. So where can you take that idea? Okay. So having a gratitude day is a good idea, but here's another one. How do I switch this? There we go. This is something that I do a lot, and this is to offer a holiday guide or a resource. Now, this is a way that you could get onto like a morning TV show, like a morning, Pittsburgh Today, or a Good Morning New Jersey, or Good Morning Lynchburg, right? Offering some kind of a guide. Now, the guide, like I know we have a few authors on here today. An author writing a book, or a life coach or a health coach writing a cookbook, that's not a press release, okay? So if you think that's a press release, I'm really glad you're on this class, because you will not get called into an interview because you wrote a book. You will get called into an interview because you have some kind of tips or strategies that's relevant to the viewers or the readers or the listeners, whatever the audience is of the media that you're pitching, right? And so a time-saving checklist. So we heard somebody today talk about doing a webinar right while the kids are supposed to be doing math class. How do you do 3 things at one time? Here's one I would like to know. How do you teach school as a teacher and teach your children at the same time? Yeah, there's so many things that we can talk about there. For our health coaches, healthy holiday recipes. Look, that is not new, but it gets told every single year. That idea, healthy holiday recipes, is not a new idea, but every single year we have new and different recipes that we can introduce. One thing I'm personally doing this year is a shop local initiative. So gift giving ideas are always great, but how can you shop from home and give great gifts? How can you deliver great gifts, right? We have a couple of bed and breakfasts on here today. And in the past, during a non-COVID year, we've had stories run where a bed and breakfast will put out a resource guide about 15 things that you can do for free in the community with your family, or 5 things that you can do that are fun and don't involve electronics. What's a fun family guide? I know that we have other health people in here. How about this? 5 ways to keep your body strong, even if you've turned into a couch potato. Okay. So, and these, okay, so when you're pitching to the media, you always want to think visual, right? Because when you give a pitch to it, especially to a TV producer, they're imagining what it's going to look like on television and what are they going to be saying to that viewer? Come back after this. Our special guest is going to show you 5 ways that you can still eat healthy during the holidays, or 3 new things that you can do to stay strong, even if you've turned into a couch potato. Okay. I wish I could see your faces right now. I definitely miss this, but let's see. Recipes. So what are good holiday guides? Recipes, family activities. We have the foster grandparents on here. Reading lists are really great. Time savers. Here's something to think about. What advice or what advice are you giving all the time? Or what questions are you answering all the time? That is a really good place to start on how to give a guide or a resource. So I know I kind of threw my authors here by telling you, look, if you've written a book, that's not a reason to be on the media, but it's the tips from your book. So let's see here. This workshop, I'm going to stretch over to my bookcase here. This workshop was originally created back in 2012, 2013, when I wrote this book called the Publicity Action Workbook. So what happened was, for those of you who don't know me personally, I owned a public relations firm where I worked with small businesses and entrepreneurs, coaches, speakers, authors, helping them position themselves as leaders. At the same time, I was achieving my own dream of becoming an author, and I'd written my first book in 2009. Since then, I've written several more, but I was transitioning out of being a publicist and into full-time writer and speaker. And what I did was I created this workbook so that people could do publicity by themselves. Now, putting this out, look at this. This book is like 303 pages, right? I can't like go to the media and say, oh, here's this new book, right? And this one didn't go in the media anyway, but here's an example of how I did generate some publicity, some media attention for myself. Was I went in and I said, 5 tips to write a bio. So it was excerpts of my book, excerpts. A lot of my workshops are pulled from this book. And so they're little tips, little tiny tips that you pull out of it. So Elizabeth Cessna is here on the call. She's a hypnotherapist. She has an ebook on her website of 3 ways to reduce anxiety. And in that ebook, she tells a story about driving across a bridge and having that very common anxiety of a fear of bridges and how you can talk yourself out of it. So if Elizabeth were going to pitch the media, she wouldn't say, come to my website and get a book that says 3 ways to overcome anxiety. Her pitch might be something like, how to talk yourself out of being afraid. So it's one piece of that book, which is what the media would be interested in. I can't wait to hear what your questions and ideas are on that. Okay, here's a great idea. Have a holiday contest. You can have a contest at any time of year, but my goodness, I can't think of a better time than right now to give people something else to think about and do. So it's a good reason to pitch the media having a contest. The media loves contests, but it can also attract new traffic to your store or your website. Okay. So you can get so creative with contests, right? Well, obviously one idea. How about this one? If you are a restaurant or a bed and breakfast or what else? There are other people that could do this. A bakery, a coffee shop. people like that, even a hotel. You could have a contest on what's Santa's favorite cookie. Okay. You could have, if you are, I have a couple of people that work with pets. So you could do pet photos, the cutest pet photo, the best or the funniest family holiday portrait. You could have artwork, especially if you have children, if you do work with children, you could have art contests. How about what's the most creative gift? And a lot of times we have when we're not on a quarantine situation, I know my boyfriend Paul, they always have like a holiday door decorating contest at work. So what if you had a Zoom background contests? Okay. If I have a couple of relationship coaches that I work with, right? Some dating coaches. What about your best and worst date? Your best or worst holiday engagement story? Okay. If you're a career coach, how about your best and worst job interview? That could be pretty funny. Okay. You could do a trivia contests. I love the Zoom background idea, but here's a great idea. Team up with somebody that's collaborative. And then you can offer a freaking amazing and exceptional gift to the winner, which will encourage more visibility. So today we have on here, so I'm just going to make this up as I go along, right? So we have, oh gosh, I can't see you guys. Let me see if I can see who's here. If I can put that, there we go. I can put this up on the screen so I can look at your names. So we have Ashley, who is a wedding planner. I know you plan more than weddings, but I'm going to pull weddings. And then we have the Morning Glory Inn, right? Which is a great venue. If we threw in a photographer here and maybe a travel agent, we could put together the funniest wedding story or the best romantic, the best engagement proposal story, something like that. You see? And then everybody together could pitch in and give a prize, and it would elevate everyone's visibility. So I love collaborative partnerships. So we just have some people here that could collaborate, and that is how I picked you. So holiday contest is a great idea. All right, awards. Awards are good any time of the year. Service, and I was going to try to put a year in this morning. I was going to try to say like for 150 years. I don't know when the first newspaper was printed in the United States of America, but since that time, companies have been using awards and recognition to attract publicity. And awards and recognition you can gain publicity on awards in a number of different ways, right? You can nominate somebody for an award and be recognized for that nomination. So Cindy Rack has won Woman of the Year. She was nominated by Beth Caldwell from Pittsburgh Professional Women. Do you see how both people get the recognition at that time, right? So nominating somebody, giving the award. Let's see here, who do we have? So I'm just picking people as I can see your name. So Angie Tennant, State Farm Insurance Agent, is pleased to recognize the Foster Grandparents Program of Southwestern Pennsylvania for exceptional volunteer service. So do you see how Angie doesn't have to win the award? Angie can give the award and still get the recognition, okay? So let's see here, nominating, giving, and obviously receiving of the award, right? Devin, I can't say your last name, Devin from Higher Voice Studios has been recognized with Savviest Social Media Marketer Award 2021, right? You see, so receiving the award gives you that visibility in addition, right? So could you think of hosting an award? Could you think of giving somebody? There's so many things to do right now. We have the Cancer Center on here. You've probably already done that. But there are so many things that you can recognize this year that are different than other years. And, we always think of trophies and certificates, but a scholarship is also a type of award and recognition that your company might want to participate in. Okay. And that leads me to tip number 5, adopt a new charity. A lot of companies adopt charities, and I see this a lot. I see this frequently. Our charity is whatever that charity is. I don't want to pick on any, but this is our charity. A lot of times it's the food bank or the animal shelter, right? And it's always been their charity. and it's not very interesting and it's not very newsworthy. And really nobody in the office is really motivated to do it because they didn't have any part in making the decision. Somebody just said one day, we should have a charity. Let's do that one. Or I know somebody that works there. But it would be so interesting and refreshing if your company, organization, or family decided that you would pick a new charity every single year. And that keeps things interesting. It's a team building. Whenever I work with companies where people aren't really working well together as a team, this is often an exercise that I'll do, because people maybe won't talk to their coworkers about work. But when I say we're going to choose a new charity, they'll suddenly light up with whatever it is that they're passionate about. It's a really interesting way to get to know your coworkers and your colleagues, okay? And so choosing a new charity is a great way, first of all, for your organization to support the community. It also helps us to realize what the needs are. Sometimes we get so focused on what our own situation is, we forget about other people and what they're facing. And it's really nice when you put out a press release that says, we've decided that we're going to adopt this charity, and the reason is because they do this. We feel that's really important in today's society. This is how we're going to support this charity. Mentoring isn't new. All of you that are on here with me are very familiar with mentoring, but mentoring is still a buzz term. So if you, we've got several realtors on here, okay? So if you realtors got together and decided you were going to start a mentoring initiative for young women or young people to teach them how to be entrepreneurs, wouldn't that be interesting? Okay, so this is a great team building exercise. It's also a good way to keep you from being too routine, and it's a reason to pitch to the media as well. And it also helps that charity, obviously, as an extra bonus. Okay, number 6. Let me know if I skip one. Since this is not a PowerPoint slide, this is the tech issue is a little bit with me. This is one of my favorites, number 6. Notice how I started with the super easy ones and I'm getting a little bit more complicated. This has been very, very successful for me. Number 6, announcing industry trends, making an announcement of what they are, or if you're not somebody that researches trends, discussing them. Okay, so we have some folks here in finance and health. Let's think about something. Oh, I wrote some things down here. Okay, here's some trends. Well, obviously, every single month we hear about trends on unemployment and finance and stock market. So those kind of things are sort of routine. What kind of things happen only at the end of the year? Here's something that I read this morning. From a press release by Susie Orman. And the press release was about that credit card debt is down. Americans' credit card debt is down 10%, which is very, very unusual during the holiday season. But it's 10% less overall than what it was at this time last year. So some credit card company did that study. You didn't procure that study, but you can discuss it. Okay, so what are the new developments and trends in your industry? And you, like I said, you can report your own observations. If you are sharing out a trend, okay, if you're talking about something that's published every month, don't just say, don't just say, oh, here's what the report says. Say, here's what the report says, and here's the perspective we have at my company, okay? Here's what I'm advising my clients. Now, obviously, you financial advisors, I know you're not allowed to do that, but for the rest of you, those are some ideas that you can do. So announcing or discussing trends. Here's something that I did. I'll show you a picture of it later on. One really important thing that's happening is more people than ever are working from home. And there are some pretty significant numbers that you can find in trend announcements of how many people have left the workforce. And because they're homeschooling, or because they've chosen to, or because their job was eliminated. So working from home, which has been a trend over the past 20 years, is a significant trend now. So for those of you like me who've been working from home for many years, we're now experts on working from home. How many of you already knew how to use Zoom? Isn't it cute how in the beginning of this, Liz has been with me for a couple of years now, but Liz and I started doing these webcasts in April of this year regularly. And how many times were we explaining to people where to find the mute button? Did you see how well you all did that today? You were so confident. But back in March and April, we couldn't get you to uncover your screens, right? It's just gotten so much easier. And that darn doorbell kept ringing. People would get kicked off and going back in, right? But for those of us who've been doing this work at home, we already knew what Zoom was. We've been explaining it to people for years. What else can we talk about? What trend can we talk about? Well, here's something that you might see. So for example, eating from home. So you can talk about that as a work from home person. You can also talk about that as a health coach, right? So now that you're staying at home, here's what we're finding as a trend with cooking at home. I know I have some folks on here from Pampered Chef. Your trend might be, we've sold more blanks than ever. We've sold more knives than we ever have before. Knife sales are up 700%. And here's the reason why. And by the way, did you know the difference between a tomato knife and a potato knife, right? So these are the kind of things that you can talk about. Can you imagine? So I can't imagine like Pittsburgh Today or Good Morning Virginia saying, oh, hey, knife sales are up. But I can see them saying, did you know that there's a different knife to cut potatoes and a different knife to cut steak and a different knife to cut tomatoes? Well, we have somebody here who's going to show you why you need 3 knives in your kitchen, because that's a fun morning story, right? So think about that. I hope you guys are getting ideas. All right, here's another one. And this is pretty simple, and many people do not do this. And that is announcing a new schedule or new services. Look, you don't have to be an airline or a train company to announce a new schedule, but announcing a new schedule. We're now open 7 days a week. We're now open at 6 a.m., right? New services or a new schedule. And it doesn't sound very interesting to a producer, to a media producer, if you say, hey, guess what? We're going to now start selling t-shirts. In addition to blue jeans, we're going to start selling t-shirts, okay? Or it doesn't sound that interesting if you say, well, we're no longer going to sell pink t-shirts. All of our t-shirts are going to be yellow. That doesn't sound interesting. But when you say it's the last day ever to get a yellow t-shirt, all of a sudden it's news. So you have to pay attention to the way you pitch it. Here's another thing. Be the first ever to get a yellow t-shirt. That's a great way to begin a media pitch, okay? So announcing your services or schedule. So for those of you, I know several of you are watching this in an office where 3 or 4 of you from the same team are watching. I hope you're getting some ideas that you can talk back and forth about. What could we announce? Maybe it's not a service, maybe it's something else. Maybe it's a new fundraiser or a new initiative. I can't wait to hear what your ideas are. Okay, now here's a tip for you. Lots of us have a lot on our plates all the time, and especially right now. I always teach my clients to be intentional about whatever systems they have in their business, whether it's marketing or publicity or their business growth. Most of the time, I have found that media visibility, media attention, media interviews tend to be reactive, right? Like, hey, do you know, somebody might say, can you do an interview on this? And you drop everything and spend the whole day getting ready for the interview. Or somebody like me says, hey, I need a hypnotherapist. Can you do an interview? And then you drop everything and you lose your whole day because you're spinning around, getting ready for an interview and gathering all the information that you need. Look, there's nothing wrong with a bonus of publicity that you didn't plan for, but I would so much rather that all of your business, including your publicity, is intentional and so that you've planned ahead. So these things and these ideas that I've given you today, they can be used next week. They can be used tomorrow if you have the ability to do that. This is, what is this, December 3rd? So if you would like to be on the air between December 26th and January 1st to talk about New Year's resolutions or healthy eating ideas for the new year, you've got time to plan and strategize that. For those of you who are coming into the slowest time of the year ever, as sometimes happens with some businesses, this is a great time to create a publicity plan for the whole year. But there are others of you that have never been so busy, and I can't even believe you're here on this call today. You have so many plates spinning. For you, you can get a really good idea about a contest or a scholarship or an announcement and put that in your calendar for next October, for October 2021, and plan it at that time. Okay. So we have to do what we can, and we have to do what we can do well. So you want to take advantage of it and pitch yourself when it's appropriate. And then also be a little bit intentional and plan ahead and be strategic about it. Okay. So this workbook is still for sale on Amazon. You can find lots and lots of templates and ideas, and absolute how to do things step by step are in here. And then, on my website, coachbethcaldwell.com, there's a page, and I'll send you the link with today's recording, where you can go and see all of my publicity recordings that I've ever done in workshops and learn how to do it yourself. Okay. So planning ahead is a strategy. All right. And here's another this is one that is so easy and so exciting and so helpful to media producers, to editors and reporters and writers and podcasters. And that is what we call piggybacking on breaking news or trending news. Okay. And so this would not be a story about you. This would be you talking about a story. Contributing to a story is a great way to attract publicity. So a lot of times, big news stories are talked about for days, weeks, sometimes. And reporters like to have different perspectives, okay? And so I'm going to give you some ideas. I just looked on the news. And so if an employee wants to get, or a reporter wants to get different perspectives, maybe they want to talk to an attorney and a financial advisor and a therapist. Maybe they never thought about talking to a health coach. Maybe they never thought about talking to an author until you suggest it to them. And so that pitch would look something like this. I'm going to tell you some ideas that I had. I wrote this down this morning. So I told you about the credit card debt is 10% less than it was this time of year. That's a trending news story. So if you're a financial advisor, you could say, hey, look, it's very tempting to spend when you're stuck. Like when people right now are not in control of what they can do, what are they doing? If they're worried, or if they're trying to distract themselves, they're doing what people do: eat, drink, sleep, spend, right? That's how they distract themselves. So the great news is credit card debt is down. Let's keep it that way. Here are some ways that you can handle your money instead. Okay. Here's some ways that you can keep that credit card debt down. That's a really good idea. That could be for a budgeting coach, a life coach, a health coach, a financial trainer, anything like that. Somebody who could talk about impulse buying is a good thing to talk about at this time of year. It can also go with that trend. Here's one that I found as a trend for those of you who are in the healthy industry and the diet industry. People are buying more nut milk. Nut milk is more popular. Some people want to make their own nut milk. I can imagine one of you going on to a morning show and demonstrating how to make nut milk and why it's healthier for you and why it's easier to make and why it's easier to digest and all those other things. Okay. I don't know this trend, but I thought of this idea. Those of you in nonprofit, are people donating more? Are they donating less? Doesn't matter. I mean, of course it matters, but when we're talking about a publicity pitch, the trend is we're seeing donations have increased. So that's good news. And here's what we are planning to do with the money. The bad news, well, we're seeing that donations are very decreased, and here's what we're planning to do about it. Okay, do you see how you can piggyback on that? Loneliness, anxiety, worry. Look, if we weren't in a pandemic, there are some things that we see increase during the holiday season. Loneliness is one of them. Suicide is one of them. Drug overdose, domestic abuse. These are not fun things to talk about, but these are things that happen in the news more significantly at this time of year. And so if you have a solution for that or a positive idea for that, that is something that you could pitch. Now, if you want to know, if you're like me and you're too busy to watch the news, here's how you find out what's trending in the news. I like Apple. I use Apple products, and so I like Apple news from Apple. I get an email every morning of news trends and what's hot in the news from Apple, and they're not very extreme politically, so like it's more generic stuff. I like that. And also most TV producers, I will tell you, go as soon as they get up in the morning, sometimes before they get out of bed in the morning, they go to news.google.com. They look and see what happened in the news overnight. Now, if you go to any of those stations, Google News, Yahoo News, MSN News, whatever news, you're going to see, if you live in the United States, you're going to see not nice stuff. Because in the United States, that's the way our news media is. It's usually hostile and harsh, and it's the rough stuff. But when you get to that page, go over to the left and look at technology, travel, and entertainment. And you will then find the trending news stories in technology and travel. And there are some things that you could pitch on. Okay, it's very, very interesting. I always look at the ugly stuff because we want to know what's going on, but I tend to go over to technology and entertainment. And for me, I look at business as well. So here's something, if you've been watching the news, a couple of things have happened. Number one, Starbucks offered, and they might have been doing this for a while, but it was on the news yesterday, any essential worker, maybe not any essential worker, but they're offering free coffee. I think it might be to first responders. Okay. So that was all over the news, and they showed pictures of Starbucks with lines of people in the drive-through to get that. So that's a nice positive news story for Starbucks, because it fosters some goodwill. But also, Starbucks are really smart people. They're selling an addictive substance after all, but they know that people who are getting a free coffee are probably also going to buy a croissant or a scone or something like that, and it's a way for them to give back to the community that doesn't really hurt. Another thing that is a big trender in the news, you might have missed this, and that is that our incoming president, Joe Biden, there's always big news when we have a new president coming into the White House, of their pets. They're always talking about their pets. And so Joe Biden has 2 German Shepherds. And so one story there is if you are a pet trainer, you could talk about German Shepherds. If you're a pet groomer, you could talk about pet grooming and German Shepherds and what it's going to be like. A lot of people piggyback on that story. There are books even written about this topic. But Joe Biden was playing with his dogs the other day and fractured his ankle, and he's wearing a boot now. I don't know if you caught that news story. So here's how you could piggyback on that. If you're a physical therapist, if you're an occupational therapist, if you're a professional organizer, or if you're somebody who works in caregiving, all of you could offer comments on how to care for an injured ankle, or how to train your pets so that they don't trip you when you're walking out the door. That's a trending news story. Okay. I want to jump back to an idea. I might have this in the future, but I want to say it while it's on my mind, because I know I have several people who are in the pampering industry, the bed and breakfast and the spa and some hair salons, some people in beauty and health. And so an idea that I had, and this will really help me to explain to you the difference between marketing and publicity. So if you are some kind of a service provider, I'm going to use the example of a spa because we can all, I hopefully relate to that. So if you're a service provider, a marketing piece for you during the holiday season could be 10 reasons to give the gift of massage. 10 reasons to give the gift of massage. That would be a marketing piece. Be something that you could send to all of your clients. It could be a flyer that you could have in your store. And you would put, obviously important things about massage. Obviously, it promotes better sleep. It can increase your immunity. Touch is really needed right now. It helps people retain their jobs, right? And all the other good things about massage. Maybe there are 8, maybe there are 10. Okay. I like the number 10, and here's the reason why. In this case, 10 reasons why giving a massage is a good gift this holiday season. And then the same company at the same time gives away 10 free massages to nurses or doctors or ambulance workers or police officers, whatever you want to do. It's your business, right? So the 10 reasons to give a massage is marketing, and the giving away 10 massages is publicity. Okay. So that's a really great way to explain it. All right. And my last tip for you today, and then I'll take some questions. Let's see how much time. Oh, we're good on time. So schedule time to plan and implement. Look, no matter what you're trying to implement into your business, blocking time into your calendar to complete these tasks, it's a strategy that works. Okay. So I recommend picking 2 hours a month to do media planning and to do media pitching. You can do this all by yourself. You can hire a publicist or a coach like me to work with you, or you can do it with a team. But if you don't schedule this into your computer, into your calendar, it doesn't really happen, does it? Okay. So you can be very structured and say, well, the first Monday of every month from 8 till 10 a.m., I'm going to do publicity. Or you can just pick any open day that you have in your calendar. Okay. If you're like me and you got a lot of things going on, I pick my 2 hours that I'm going to work. And if something else comes up, like if somebody wants to hire me for those hours, I just move them to another time. But if I don't schedule it, it doesn't happen. Okay. Now, I don't mean that you can do everything needed for a publicity plan in 2 hours a month, but here's what happens. You sit down with your team or yourself, whoever's doing it, and you decide what you want to do. And I like to kind of think a month or two in advance. I try not to make it be too reactive, right? So you plan about what you want to do and you go, okay, well, for me, for personally, I do a lot of things on women's leadership. So International Women's Day is a really big day for me. I start thinking about that in December. In December, I actually have a note that comes up on my, so here's what happened. International Women's Day popped up and I was like 2016, I was like, wow, that's a good opportunity for publicity. Next year came around. That's a good opportunity. I should do something about that, right? I was like, you know what? I am going to do something. So I put it on my calendar in December of that year. What should I do? I wrote myself a note like for December 22nd. What should I do for International Women's Day this year? And that year, that third year, I hosted a big fundraiser. And then the fourth year, 2 years ago, I hosted another big fundraiser. And guess what happened? This year, 2020, I launched my Women Lead book. Okay. And so International Women's Day is a good day for me. But if I didn't plan it in my schedule, it would have just kept coming around again. I wouldn't have had any way to do it. So what you do is you schedule it in your calendar, you come up with your idea, and then you put the next steps in your calendar at that time, right? The next step is this, and the next step is this. And that's how I keep up with it. So that's my number 10 bonus. I have some frequent questions. Oh, here's a bonus. This is really important. I cannot tell you how many people have come to me that have paid, I'm not lying to you, tens of thousands of dollars in publicity that was not leveraged. When you are featured in the media, you want to remember to leverage this. Now, I'm in my home office now. In my actual office, I have my plaques of where I've been featured, the magazine covers that I've been on, the newspaper articles that I've done. I have those hanging up on the wall. I don't have those here in this office. But what I do have are some things, for example, 4 years. Wow, I can't believe it's been 4 years ago now. 4 years ago, I released a video on the topic of sexual harassment. It was something that was irritating me. By the way, listen to your intuition. That whole International Women's Day thing, that was a message from somewhere else, right? That I listened to. When you get those messages, listen to them. Paul and I were at a I think a Labor Day. It was like a September Labor Day picnic. And there was a woman there who told me, who I never met her before. She was a friend of somebody, a girlfriend of somebody that my boyfriend Paul works with. And she told me this horrible sexual harassment story about a company that she worked at in West Virginia and the way they were handling it. And that story stayed with me. I could not get it out of my head. And I'm a writer, right? So I wrote about it. I wrote a script about it and I recorded a video about sexual harassment. And it was about the story that she told me and how the company had handled it. And of course, I totally changed it. But in the video, I said, if this happens to you, here's what you can do. If you're the business owner, this is what you can do. If you're the victim, this is what you can do, right? And I put that video out. The day after that video came out, Matt Lauer got fired. And I wound up all over the place on TV, on the newspaper, and all that. And so listen to those inner voices when you get those promptings. Talk about things that are important. And so that feature was pretty significant for me. And so when somebody comes to my website and they see that I've been interviewed about sexual harassment, they're more likely to hire me when they've got sexual harassment going on in their workplace. Okay. These other two stories that I wanted to tell you about, piggybacking on what's going on today. The second story, that's an interview that I did in May with Channel 4, Michelle Wright from Channel 4. She's also a Pittsburgh Professional Women member. And that was how to start your own home-based business during a pandemic. A couple of you work from home, right? A couple of you already have these businesses. That's something you can pitch to the media. I've done it. Here's how you do it. Some of you are minority certified. So instead of saying, I'm an architect, say, I'm a minority certified business. This is how it happens. That's an interesting story. Okay. And that third one was a women's leadership conference. Something edgy had happened. That's from 2018. Something edgy had happened and I'm sure it also had to do with the Me Too movement. And I think it was an equal pay. I think there was something about equal pay. And I was interviewed on that topic, right? But I know that most of you didn't read that article. If any of you read that article in the Trib, you wouldn't even know it happened if I didn't tell you, right? So when you get some media coverage, make sure that you leverage it. You can hang plaques on the wall. We have a music school, we have a bed and breakfast. So our bed and breakfast, best weddings from the Knot, 15 years in a row, hang that plaque on your wall, but also have it on your website. Okay. So make sure you leverage those media features. So I have some common questions here. This is in your ebook that is going to come to you. I'll come back and answer these, but first I want to see what your questions are and what your ideas are. So let me see if I have any other announcements for you. And then you guys can unmute, right? Okay, I'm going to send you a link. If you really are excited about publicity, I have 3 workshops on my website about how to create a publicity plan, how to create a media list, and how to write a press release. And I'm going to send you the link to that with today's recording. You can click on that. There's a page on my website that has all of my best workshops of all time. And about the 3rd section down is the publicity section. So don't worry about that. I'll send you that link. This is information about me. And I just want to tell you that, I want the best for you. I want you all to achieve success and visibility and stand out. And I just want the best possibilities for you. If you're ever interested in working with me, ask me about my mastermind, ask me about my coaching, and please keep coming to these workshops because I love seeing you. All right, let me grab my glasses here. And Liz, do we have any questions? Let's see here.